no other senator will think this is a big problem. So we are continuing to work with Senator Feinstein to make her understand that there is actually a drought in California. But yes, we have worked with comprehensive water bills for the last 2 years and actually the last 7 years. I was also a huge supporter of the water bond that was passed, I believe 3 years ago. But part of that is allowing us to do what's in the water bond. If we're going to get the new reservoirs at Temperance Flats and sites, then let's build them. Let's get out of the way and let's get these new reservoirs built so that we have the storage, so that in drought times, we have more water.
Right, Lou?
Yes, I think we need tax credits for conservation. I also want to say that we need to work with, it's hard to say Washington is just going to help with the drought. We need, when I was younger, maybe 30 years old, I thought I knew everything. But now I know I don't know everything. So I definitely seek out the local help from the water boards that are here doing the work every day, working hard to understand the nuances of the wells in the Santa Cruz Valley. So I definitely want to do that work with them. The other thing is, we don't need to reinvent the wheel. There's countries around the world that have water conservation problems. And we can look to places like Israel that already have a pretty good handle on this and we can partner with them to implement those practices here.
Yes, absolutely. We've made a lot of progress over the last few years with conservation, and it's great to try to capture the water that comes down, but unfortunately it's not enough. As we've learned over the last few years, we can't rely on the rain falling or the snowpacks building up. We need leadership in Washington that is going to try to take affirmative steps. That's why I want to bring and build a large-scale water recycling plant here in this district. There's one in Oxnard, there's a great one in Fountain Valley that provides enough water for 850,000 people every single year. That's more people than live in the entire 25th district combined. And not only will this give us much needed water security, it will also create great, good paying jobs while building the facility and while operating the facility for years to come.
Thank you. Jenna?
Aerospace is very important industry in the 25th district, and there's been a little bit of discussion about that already. But what would you do to help bring more work for the companies that exist here, or to attract more companies here?
We'll start with you, Brian.
Everybody in this room knows how crucially important the aerospace industry is, not just in the Antelope Valley, in the Santa Clarita Valley, and the Simi Valley. And we need a representative in Washington who's going to do everything possible to bring more jobs. And it's great that we have the long-range bomber coming. What I would have liked to have seen more of are more internship programs, more apprenticeship programs, so that the new jobs that are coming in aren't going to be going to employees who live in another state and just move in to take those high-paying jobs. We need to make sure that we are continuing to train the best possible workforce right here. We have the infrastructure in place. We have the ability to build not just defense aerospace, but commercial, space flight. And then if we make sure that we are continuing to train the best possible employees for the future, businesses are going to continue coming here as they've done for the last 50 years and continue to provide good jobs in this area.
Steve?
The aerospace issue in this district has always been paramount. It has been for the last 75 years. This is where flight took flight. The Wright brothers can say it was in North Carolina, but it was actually here in Southern California where we've been building airplanes for 90 years. So I brought out Mac Thornberry, he's the chairman of Armed Services, and I brought him through Northrop, and I let him see the Joint Strike Fighter workings there. I brought him over to Lockheed, we brought him all the way through Plant 42, and then he's worked his way through Santa Clarita and other areas here in Southern California. We also brought an engineering program. Long Beach State brought an engineering program up to the Antelope Valley. UAV is now having an engineering program because we want those people to graduate those colleges, just like we want them coming out of COC and going into an engineering program, and then working here. If we can do those things, just like Northrop and Lockheed have a huge, brilliant, and vibrant internship program there, then we'll keep our jobs here and aerospace will continue to thrive.
Lou?
I agree with both gentlemen here, and I'd also like to increase or add a 4-year school in the Antelope Valley, so that we can have the skilled labor, the skilled students that are there in school. That'll bring the companies. That'll allow them to have students in internships and work with them and recruit them right out of high school or vocational training, and make that pipeline like I talked about before with the veterans. We just need someone to take a leadership role with that. Obviously as a congressman, I'm not going to decide whether or not Cal State comes to the Antelope Valley, but I am definitely going to use that office as a bully pulpit to make that help happen with that end in mind.
Let me ask each of you, be a little more specific. What exactly work for the aerospace companies would you try to get here? What kind of work would you try to deliver for the district? We'll start with you.
What kind of work that I would do?
Pork.
I don't think that's appropriate to say to a cop.
Thoughts that went through my head.
Well, like I said before, is that you can bring grants, you can bring, try to get tax breaks, you can try to bring more contracts for the companies that are here so they can get more money, more pork. So that's something I'm always going to have in mind. Like I said, I'm going to represent the 25th district, not special interest, and the aerospace industry is a huge part of the 25th district.
Actually,
So the last 17 months, I visited about 50 schools and about 135 businesses. Many of those businesses are involved in aerospace, DoD, or space. In this last NDAA, I put in an amendment that said we wanted 2 more Tritons. The Tritons are the unmanned system that comes out of Norfolk that goes out to the Point Hueneme and Naval Air Station Ventura, built right in Plant 42. A lot of the subcontractors are right here in the 25th district. We also fought to keep SOFIA. SOFIA is the airborne telescope, and we have full funding of the airborne telescope there. Again, many of the contractors are right here in the 25th district. We fought for the F-35 program and put several more F-35s into the NDAA. The F-35 center fuselage is built at Northrop in Palmdale. Many of the subcontractors, I would say 50 or 60 of them, are right here in the 25th congressional district. So I wouldn't say that it's pork, that is asking what the military needs and then responding.
could you tell the audience what NDAA and
National Defense Authorization Act, that is when we spend the money for the military.
Ryan?
We all talk about the need to have good education options here so that we have the best workers to take these jobs. Unfortunately, since 2011, federal funding of education has gone down by 20%. So we need to be fighting to bring federal dollars to the 25th district to make sure that we're funding these vocational training opportunities, the apprenticeship, the internship programs. We can bring that directly to the district. We also, I'm endorsed by United Aerospace Workers, Local 887, right up there in the Antelope Valley. This is something that I'm working very closely with them to make sure that we are understanding what needs they have, how we can bring the best jobs to the Antelope Valley and Santa Clarita Valley, and making sure that we are getting those government contracts for the businesses here in this community so that we all move forward with those high-paying jobs.
Jason, you have the next question.
Should partisan office holders in state and national offices endorse candidates in nonpartisan local races, such as city council and school board?
We'll start with you, Lou.
Oh, sorry.
I didn't want to say pork again, so.
I didn't see any comments out there yet. Should federal and state officials, partisan, endorse in local races like school board and
Yeah,
supervisors?
nonpartisan races, local nonpartisan races.
I think they should. I think that people should understand where a person's values, where they lie, something about them, and I don't see why that's a problem. I think that, I ran for sheriff in 2014, and that's a nonpartisan office, but it was important for people to understand, or important for candidates to have the support of certain people to show their credibility, show their viability, and show what they stand for. So I don't have a problem with that personally.
Steve?
Well, I think this is a question directed at me. I was involved in a race here in Santa Clarita, and I think that there was some question whether a congressman should be involved in a nonpartisan local race. I think that you've got to be very judicious in that, I do. I stayed out of a race up in the Antelope Valley when it had to do with a high school district. We lost the best high school district trustee we've ever had. And my son goes to a school up there, so I wish I was involved in that. I wish I would have pushed for that candidate so that we would still have her on the board of trustees in the Antelope Valley Union High School District. But I do think that you have to be judicious, and you have to understand that if you're going to be involved, then you've got to have a serious tie to what's happening. I would say me having a son in high school gives me a serious tie. Me having a niece and a nephew in high school district down here gives me a tie to those districts. But I do believe that the congressional member at the federal level has to be judicious in where they put their support when they don't.
Thank you. Brian?
The great thing about our democratic system is that when a representative in Congress or at any level takes actions that the community disagrees with, there's an opportunity to let that person know and vote them out. So I don't have a problem with a representative of Congress endorsing a candidate that they believe will do a good job in whatever office it is. But as Congressman Knight says, if you don't do it judiciously, if you endorse people who aren't qualified for the job, if you are looking out only for cronies and you aren't actually advancing the needs of the community, then people at the next election will have the opportunity to let you know. And so I think it is the representative's responsibility as a leader in the community to exercise endorsements with the best judgment that they have, and leave it up to the community to decide whether they exercise their judgment well.
Thank you. Krista?
Do you believe that climate change is proven science? If so, what can be done about it?
And we'll start with you, Steve.
Yeah, I guess I'm one of those weird Republicans that I do believe that we're in a cycle. I absolutely believe that we're in a cycle, and that's part of what's happening. But you cannot say that the pollutants that we put in the air don't have an effect on the environment. There is an effect on the environment. I think that scientists have shown that. I think that we've got enough information. But as we go down the climate change situation, what is happening in America is a lot of people think that climate change means right here in America, we've got to invest all of our money on climate change and nobody else has to do anything. Even with the latest discussions with many other countries, there was a provision set in there that said if you can't afford it, you don't have to do it. So if we are going to look into these issues, and if we are going to have some sort of money being paid out through the federal government, then let's do it at the global level. And let's have everybody involved. Because right now, what America's doing is putting ourselves at a competitive disadvantage.
Thank you, Brian.
Yes, climate change is real. The science really isn't in question, and we need a representative in Congress who will look at the evidence, look at science, and make decisions based on that. That's why it was so frustrating what happened with the Porter Ranch gas leak. Not just for the human impact of people getting sick, people having to be relocated, but the climate change effects of so much methane gas being released, pushing California, all the progress we've made over the last few years backwards. And that's why I proposed a piece of federal legislation that would put strong safeguards in place to prevent against this kind of methane gas leak happening in the future. Unfortunately, some members of Congress are proposing leaving up regulations of storage facilities to the best consensus industry standards. That's the standards that the oil companies put forward. The same standards that allow them not to have safety valves, to do dual tubing, injecting and extracting this methane gas, which put us all at risk, including at the Honor Rancho facility, right in the heart of Valencia.
Lou?
Yes, I believe in climate change, just like 97% of climate scientists. I think that's a pretty good number to go with there. We need to get, I said before, in this debate, and I'll say it again, we need to focus on renewable energy. The federal government can give tax breaks and incentives for doing that. We need to get away from carbon-based fuels and fossil fuels. I mean, we need to follow California's example. I think the last coal-fired power plant will be shuttered in California in 2020. And we need to do that, not only nationwide, but one thing America is a leader. And we need to set the example for the rest of the world. We can't just not do it because other people aren't doing it. We have to have the courage and the forethought and the foresight to do it first and do it now.
Thank you all. Jenna?
Would you reduce Medicare, Social Security, or other entitlement programs to reduce the federal deficit?
Brian, we'll start with you.
Absolutely not. You know, Congressman Knight stated that he's not a fan of Social Security. I am. I've seen firsthand how important Social Security is to my grandparents, to allow them to live out their years with dignity and with pride. And I will fight every day in Congress to make sure we don't cut benefits, we don't increase the retirement age, and we sure as heck will not give a windfall to Wall Street speculators on the backs of our seniors. This is a sacred promise that we must keep for the seniors who have worked so hard over their lives, who have paid into these systems, to make sure that we do not take that away from them, but we strengthen and secure these programs.
Absolutely, I think that, absolutely not. I think that Social Security was a bad idea. I do. I absolutely think it was a bad idea. I think that what should have happened was we should have had the government sit down with the private sector and build a system that people could take with them. That didn't happen. Here we are 75 years later. But if we follow this, we don't raise the age limit, if we don't do anything to Social Security, in 2030, you're going to have a congressman sitting right here going, we don't have any money. Not for Social Security. We don't have any money. Right now, 69% of mandatory spending goes to Social Security, Medicare, and payment on the debt. That is rising dramatically. It will be 90% in our lifetime, not our children. We're not giving this to our children. It's our lifetime. You have to make some change to Social Security, just like life insurance. That changes every generation because you know what? I'm going to live longer than my father's generation. My son's generation is going to live a little longer than me. So you have to change those tables. If you don't, we run out.
Is there anything that would prevent you from building a program like that now, while Social Security is still in existence, a private sector?
No, I think that we should absolutely do that. President Bush said that back in about 2010, 2011. I think that he almost got thrown out of office for even talking about it. If we can do it right now, nobody gets changed from about 55 years and older. Nothing changes. But under 55, something's got to change. I'll give you an example. I've only worked 14 years in my life that I pay into Social Security. Just like Lou, when we're in LAPD, we're not paying into Social Security. So 14 years, I am fully vested. 14 years and I am fully vested. At 67, I am going to get money from Social Security. There's got to be a change with the people that are under 55. Because if you don't, then someday we're going to be sitting here going, everyone's got to change. And I don't want to get to that point. I'd rather fix it now when we have a chance to do that. 69% mandatory spending goes to those three issues.
Lou,
It's only rising.
Lou, you're next.
I support expanding and protecting Social Security. And just to tweak your question a little bit, if I can take a little liberty, I don't consider them entitlements. They're earned benefits. Those are benefits and money that people worked hard and paid into, and they were promised that they were going to get that money back, and we need to keep our promises to our seniors. Secondly, we need to lift the payroll cap on Social Security. $117,000, it makes the same amount of payment as someone that makes $600,000, and that's just not fair. I could explain that to my kids, and they tell me right away that's not fair. So I think that's something that needs to be lifted, the payroll cap. And the last thing is we need to stop corporate tax loopholes that can help fund, that money can help fund Social Security instead of those corporations taking advantage of the tax loopholes, moving their money overseas, and really it's impacting our seniors. So no, I would not touch Social Security.
Brian, do you have anything more to say since they have a little more time?
I
You don't have to.
I stand by my position. I agree with Lou that we should get rid of the payroll limit. We should make changes to Social Security to strengthen and secure it, not to cut those benefits from the people who have worked their entire lives and paid in the system to earn them.
All right, before we go to the final, I think they all deserve a round of applause for their answers. You're very responsive. You did an excellent job of representing yourselves and your positions. We really appreciate it. Your questions were brilliant. You all must be brilliant. So, Now's the time for the closing statements. You each get 3 minutes. The timekeeper will tell you, and when it says stop, please stop. And we're gonna go in reverse order. Lou is first.
Okay, well, thanks again, thank you to the panel, those were wonderful questions. The thing that I want to communicate to you tonight, and I'm speaking specifically to the Democrats out there, but also the Republicans, is that I have been a member of this community. I've worked here, I've worked on issues affecting this community, I understand this community. My kids go to school in Santa Cruz, my parents live in Palmdale. I've been to countless sporting events, community events, you name it. I've been here, I understand the struggles that go on with everybody commuting to and from the Santa Cruz Valley, to the San Fernando Valley and so forth. I understand their concerns about raising your family and the water and being able to make ends meet and paying for college. Those are things that are important to me. So what I want to leave you with tonight is that I want to go to Washington and I want to represent you. It's not about me. I'm not doing this for personal gain. I'm not doing this to increase my career saleability. I'm doing this for the right reasons, to make sure that I take care of the people that are really my neighbors, my family, and I look forward to June 7th, and I hope to have your vote. And after June 7th, I look forward to another debate here with this wonderful panel with Congressman Knight. Thank you.
Thank you very much to the signal. Thank you to the panel. This is a very good debate. It was a spirited debate, but it talked about the differences in issues, the differences in how we're going to address the issues. And look, there are people that want to be a congressman, and there are people that want to get things done. I know I'm the person that wants to get things done. I didn't choose to go somewhere and find a place to do this. This is where I live. I've lived in this district for 31 years. I've lived in Santa Cruz Valley. I've lived in Palmdale. I've lived in Lancaster. 31 years. I was born in Southern California, right on Edwards Air Force Base. So my total here is about 38 years right here in Southern California. I understand the issues because they've affected me. I had to commute from Palmdale into Hollywood Division, into Devonshire Division, into North Hollywood Division, 17 years. I had to commute before the earthquake and after the earthquake. And I could see what that changed. What changed in that commute? I also had to deal with the crime issues that happen up here. I had to deal with the gang issues. This was my backyard. Dealing with the deputies up here, dealing with the deputies in the Yellow Valley, we had to work on the issues right here that affect us. So I think that you've got the commitment from me. I don't want to be just the congressman. I want to do something. You've heard of the accomplishments that we've done. That's because we've hit the ground running. You can talk to many other freshman congressmen, and they will never tell you about something that was signed by President Obama if they are a Republican. We've already done that. We're going to do that about 3 or 4 times this summer. We work across the aisle. We've proven that. We have a record that shows that. And our commitment as a family. My wife has chosen to be a nurse here in the district. My children, well, they didn't choose, but we chose for them. Go to school here in the district. My 2 children and my wife graduated from Quartz Hill High School. That's their only character flaw. I graduated from Palmdale High School. We know this very well. I was a Palmdale City Councilman. I graduated from Antelope Valley College. This is my home. I've chosen to be here, and I've chosen to work on the issues that affect my friends, my family, and this district. So I would be honored to continue to work on the issues that affect this district. I would be honored to work on the issues that come up on a daily basis and the long-term issues like aerospace, like jobs, like crime, like roads, but also the emergency issues that we had to deal with the Aliso Canyon, where we helped out over 300 families on relocating, on getting their reimbursements, and on getting their air filters. So we know how to do that. We do it very quickly. We do it judiciously. And we do it because it's an honor to serve. Thank you very much.
Thank you to the Signal, thank you to the panelists, and thank you for everyone for coming today. These are important. These give the candidates the opportunity to speak directly to you, to answer your questions, and to see who best aligns with your views before June and before November. And today we saw some very stark differences between Congressman Knight's votes and positions and my values and the community's values. Now, Social Security, we just talked about it. He is not a fan of it. He doesn't think we ever should have had it. I do. This is a sacred promise that we have made to our seniors, and I will fight every day in Congress against Republican efforts to take away that sacred promise. Now, one thing we didn't talk about was women's health and Planned Parenthood. Congressman Knight has voted repeatedly to defund Planned Parenthood. I stand proudly with Planned Parenthood, an organization that provides essential healthcare services to thousands of women every year in this community. I had the pleasure to tour the Antelope Valley Planned Parenthood facility and see what they do to serve 13,000 different patients just last year with essential health care, with cancer screenings, with more access to birth control, with more women's health exams to keep our community members safe and healthy. I will never allow Republican extremists to defund Planned Parenthood while I'm in Congress. On immigration, Congressman Knight has said he has no problem deporting the parents of American citizens. I do. That's wrong for the people in our community. We need to fight for families. We need to fight for the families here at home instead of trying to break them apart and hold back our economy at the same time. And finally, on gun safety measures, Congressman Knight has voted time and time again to allow potentially suspected terrorists to purchase firearms, putting our communities and our families at risk. I will stand against that, and I will make sure we do everything in our power to keep our communities safe. Thank you so much for everybody for coming. This has been a great debate, and I hope to earn your support in June and November.
The Signal wants to thank all of you for coming and for your kind attention. We also want to say this. We at the Signal are committed to the Santa Clarita Valley. We want your readership. We want you to subscribe. Those of you who have businesses, we need your support in advertising because your community newspaper is vital to our success as a democracy. We need your help. You care about a democracy or you wouldn't be here. So help the Signal continue, and thank you very much for being here.
It was a pleasure meeting you.